Alright, what's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to give you guys the ultimate shiny hunting guide. Alright, so I've broken this down into many parts. I actually got very organized, I guess, for this video in specific. So I want to make kind of like bigger guides, bigger I guess just longer videos in general, just very specific, very broken down, and can I give you guys everything that you might possibly need about certain MMO topics. I just think that this will do better for the channel, and it means I have to upload less, or I can upload less, and hopefully get similar results. So if you enjoyed the video at any point, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and definitely let me know in the comment section if you prefer, you know, these longer, more in-depth kind of videos, or if you prefer shorter, more frequent, just kind of random videos, because I could do that, but quite honestly, right now I don't want to. So for the first thing up for this ultimate shiny hunting guide, I want to go through, you know, various topics. The first thing you're going to want to know before anything, what you need, what Pokemon you'll need, what to expect, what to watch out for, any of that stuff. You're probably going to want to know most, what do the Pokemon look like? What should I hunt for? And so I want to turn you guys to the screen where you're going to be seeing every single shiny Pokemon. And if you hover over them, it shows you the non-shiny. So for instance, Charizard here is a black Charizard. If I hover over it, it becomes the regular version. So just kind of scroll through very slowly here. This is definitely a great resource. It's called PokemonDB.net, and it's just a website online, and it basically shows you every single shiny Pokemon. What I would recommend doing is just picking out, like, you know, 3 to 5 of your favorites or something like that, and basically just go from there. First, like for me personally, for instance, I'd really want a shiny Eevee. Ditto is definitely one I want. I actually have one in Pokemon MMO already. That was one I went for. Of course, Staryu is also really good. And just in general, I think you can't do legendaries right now, but in Pokemon MMO, but like basically almost every single one of these Pokemon is available to hunt. There's different like IVs you want to get as well. Heracross is a big one I really want. I love the pink shiny. But yeah, I mean, like, this is just a really good starting resource. It has every gen from Gen 1 through Gen 8, I want to say, but it definitely has every gen in Pokemon MMO. So definitely a good resource. Again, I'm just scrolling through here. Again, link will be in the description down below for this website. Shiny Beldum, for those of you long-term fans of the channel, definitely know I got my eye on Shiny Beldum, that's for sure. But yeah, that's it for the first part of this video. I just want to show you guys what to hunt. Again, I recommend picking like 3 to 5 Pokemon from this list and then just going at it. And then when you get close to finishing that list, start another like 5 to 6 and then just keep going from there. And it'll keep you busy. It'll keep you busy for a long time. Anyway, let's move on to what you might need in this hunt. All right, let's go there. All right, now that we're here, I want to show you guys the Pokemon first. I might do some items later, but for the most part, these are going to be Pokemon that you're going to want in your party. These are going to be Pokemon that you're probably going to need for shiny hunting purposes. So I'm going to break down each one as we go here. Hopefully you enjoy. First off, any kind of sweet scent Pokemon. For here, I have a Meganium. I do recommend using a PP up, or a PP max rather. So basically you just go into item listings on the GTL, type in a PP max. Basically it will raise the top PP of a selected move all the way to the top PP. So for instance, Sweet Scent I believe started at 20 PP, as you can tell here. And it's now up to 32, which means that I use a PP max on it. You only need to have this Pokemon in your party, so if you just drag it over here, like, that's all you need. It doesn't have to be at the lead of your party or anything like that. I also recommend registering the Pokemon, the move specifically, so I would use the star key and then hot select any button that you specifically want. Mine is currently at 4 because it's just easier for me. So that's the first Pokemon you're definitely going to need if you're trying to do a 5 times or a 3 times horde, okay? Meganium works, Teddiursa works. There's like a multitude of Pokemon that know Sweet Scent. I can actually check for you guys if you want to know in specifics. So if I just type in Sweet Scent and just go here, yeah, let's just do start date. So yeah, a lot of Oddishes, Amoonguss, a lot of grass types, Smeargle, Combee, Lilligant, Chikorita. Yeah, I mean, Teddiursa, Roserade, Combee, Chikorita is kind of like the same Pokemon now. Fungus, Violet Bloom, mostly grass types, a few normal types. You know, you kind of get the gist of what Pokemon can use Sweet Scent. So that's the first thing up. Definitely want a Sweet Scent Pokemon. Next up is 2 very important ones. You're going to want a catching Pokemon. Ignore this Smeargle. It doesn't have the moveset. I'm actually still leveling it up. It's only level 41, but you will need a Smeargle or a Breloom. This Breloom is a much better example. For Breloom, I recommend having False Swipe and Spore on it. False Swipe, if you don't know, essentially brings a Pokemon down to 1 HP. So it's like the easiest to possibly catch. And then Spore is 100% chance to put the target to sleep for at least 1 to 3 turns. So definitely really good there. Again, I recommend PP upping or PP maxing these as well. You don't really need to if you're just shiny hunting, but if you're catching like Dittos or something like that, it's always useful. So yeah, these are definitely Pokemon that you might want to consider for catching Pokemon. I don't really have any other like best catching Pokemon for sure. I don't even really like Smeargle that much. Breloom is definitely my favorite when it comes to catching Pokemon. And this is when you obviously encounter your shiny, you're going to want to switch to something that can catch it fairly easily. So moving on to these top 2 Pokemon over here, I kind of broke these down into categories. So first off is Kadabra. Basically, you're going to want a synchronized Pokemon. Now, synchronize, if you don't know, basically gives the target, like if you're leading a Pokemon with synchronize and it has a specific nature that you want, this is where synchronize will come in. It increases your odds of the wild Pokemon having the same nature by 20%. So this is useful if you're trying to look for, a competitive shiny, something like that, that really needs, for instance, Hasty or Impish or something like that, right? Leading your party with a Kadabra or Alakazam or anything, an Umbreon is a popular choice. Usually you want something pretty fast. I think I EV trained it. Maybe I didn't. No, I did not. I did not finish EV training this. It doesn't matter. Yeah, I wouldn't use this for Synchronize, but you get the point, right? Synchronize for certain Pokemon is definitely going to be useful. So that's Kadabra. Another specific trait that you probably want while shiny hunting, and I can cover more of these in the future, but it's Cute Charm for certain abilities, I guess, rather. Cute Charm is going to basically increase your chances of seeing the flipped gender Pokemon in the wild by 25%, I believe it is. So leading a party with a male Cinccino will increase my odds of getting a female shiny. Usually female shinies are more desired because they're easier to breed later on. If you don't know what breeding is, I'll make a separate video on that, or I already have a separate video up when you guys are watching this. Next up is just a couple of utility Pokemon. These are just Pokemon that are nice to have. You don't need it if you have an Ocarina or anything like that. First off is Pidgeotto here. I just have Defog and I guess Fly as well. Don't really need Crobat. Let me move the Golduck over. Okay, yeah. So basically just any kind of Pokemon you have, like Defog is very useful for certain spots, especially for swarms as well. You can hotkey this. Fly is very useful getting place to place. If you're, for instance, going for a Dino. Surf on Golduck is very useful. Waterfall, things like that. I just pick Golduck because it can learn all these HMs. Soak is also very useful. Soak is very specific if you're trying to hunt for a ghost type Pokemon, because ghost types cannot be hit by normal types. And if you forgot already, Breloom's False Swipe is a normal type move right here. So it cannot hit it. So basically what you'll want to do to lower it is use your Golduck and basically hit it with Soak. It's going to change the target's type to water. So it's a water type now, and then obviously now it can be hit by False Swipe. So that's very useful. Another low-key special ability here, and why I also like Golduck so much, is because its ability Damp prevents the use of self-destructing moves. And if you know anything about Geodude, Graveler, Electrode, any of these kind of Pokemon, they blow up, okay? Any kind of Coughing too, these guys will blow up, and these guys will not give you a second chance to catch them. So that's that. And the last Pokemon that you'll probably need here in this section, this is for egg breeding specifically. This is a Flame Body Pokemon. And so these Pokemon essentially help your, your egg hatching speed by, I think it's 20%. So it lowers your time waiting from 6 minutes to 4.5, something like that. I forget the exact number, but yeah, you get the gist. Basically, just you lead your party with, any shiny, or not shiny, but any ability Pokemon with Flame Body, and then your 5 eggs here, and you're good to go. And you kind of just wait from there. So these are basically the gist of the first couple of Pokemon that you're going to need. And yeah, I'll get to the next part right now. All right, now that you're back with me here, let's talk about another thing regarding shiny hunting. How long is it going to take? You might notice here on the top right of your screen here, 17,037, now about to flip to 42. Right there, yep. This is basically the encounter counter. This is a free plugin. It's by Gillian. It's called Gillian's Encounter Counter. This is the best encounter counter that I personally know and use. It doesn't fail me. It doesn't cause any issues on my computer or anything like that. So if that's one of your concerns, don't worry about it. I will do my best to leave a link to the encounter counter in the description down below as well. But essentially what you need is basically to track your encounters. This is going to give you a lot of peace of mind when shiny hunting. For example, you could be doing, 5 to 10 hours of shiny hunting a day and not see a shiny. You could do this for 5 days straight. You could do this for 6 days straight, and you would feel like you're just wasting your time. You would feel like you're wasting your life away, right? However, if you ended up having an encounter counter on that 5th day when you feel like giving up, you might see, hey, I'm at 40,000 encounters. I'm at 55,000 encounters. And just so you know, the odds of shinies in this game are 1 in 30,000. This does not mean every 30,000 Pokemon you see, you're going to get a shiny. That's not what it means. Don't think that's what that means, okay? I know a lot of people do, but that's really not what it means. It just means that's kind of the average of when you're probably going to start seeing them. Obviously, the higher you go, the more likely it is you're going to see it. That's kind of how odds work. For context, my last shiny that I got was around 76,000 encounters. Obviously, way more than 30,000. My previous shinies before that was between 22 and 28,000. Obviously, a little bit before 30,000. So honestly, you never really know. That's the main point of shiny hunting. If you kind of know, then it kind of takes a lot of the fun out of it, right? So this is kind of what I would recommend. For instance, what I'm doing right now is just going to a spot that's kind of near a PC, just sweet sending a bunch of times. You can kind of just do this while watching a show, while while watching a stream, or even while playing another game sometimes. And you could just kind of do this on your own pace, and as long as you're not on a time constraint or anything like that, that's what you would that's what you kind of be doing. So that's kind of the odds, all right? So that's what to expect. Now, there actually are 2 things you can do that will increase your odds. And I think, some of you OG fans will definitely know about this, but I just want to show you guys real quick. First off, if you go in the gift shop, this is the first thing up, donator status, as you can tell here. So you can get a 7-day pass, a 15-day pass, or a 30-day pass. Usually I would gravitate towards the 30-day. It's just the best bang for your buck. But as you can tell here, if we read it together, donator status benefit includes 25% XP in battles, 10% chance of encountering shinies, and 10% faster egg hatching. Both these last 2 are definitely better for, obviously running into shiny Pokemon. Obviously, the more the higher chance you get and all that stuff, it's just obviously the better it is. So, you're basically, if you have a donator status on, you go from 1 out of 30,000 odds to 1 out of 27,000 odds. There's also one more item that you can go for here. If we've gone to look in the item listing, it is called, you guessed it, the Shiny Charm. Currently, they're actually kind of expensive. I've seen them as low as 270 before, so anything over 300k is a little pricey, I'm not gonna lie. But if we read it here together, it's a time only consumed while online, which is definitely a good thing. A charm which increases the chance to encounter a shiny Pokemon. So this stacks with other bonuses. It lasts 1 hour, and then you can also link with other members, and they would get a 5% bonus, but you having the shiny charm would have a 10% bonus. So if you had a shiny charm plus a donator status, which as you can tell here I don't have either, you would actually be having a 1 out of 24,000 odds, which is much better than 1 out of 30,000. Now, is the whole there's a whole debate out there on the internet, is it worth it? You know what I mean? I don't want to get into articles and debates and all that stuff, but from my personal experience, in my opinion, I don't think you need it. Okay, both of them help, obviously, but I don't think you need it. When I was, 76,000 Pokemon dry, I was popping multiple shiny charms on eggs, donator status for 30 days. Literally didn't see any change. Obviously I got my egg hatches faster and stuff like that, but I didn't get multiple shinies. Nothing really happened. And then shortly, 4 to 6 days after my donator status ran out, I ended up getting a shiny Pokemon. So I'm not saying you need to. Obviously, there's a lot of people who run shiny charms and get shinies 1 out of every 10 charms they use. But for the most part, man, I think it's just a waiting game. So. Yes, it helps, but it's definitely not super necessary. So that's what to expect out of when you're grinding. So hopefully you enjoyed that part of the video. Let's move on to something else in the game. Now, I talked about this briefly, but there are three main ways to shiny hunt in this game. So first off, let me go ahead and heal. I want to show you guys basically all 3 ways. The first thing that you can do is just horde hunt. Basically what I was doing with the Magikarps. Just go into any piece of grass, any water, anything like that, and just use Sweet Scent. You never know what you're gonna get. Sometimes you'll get, you know, random Pokemon. Sometimes you'll get something you're looking for. It don't really matter, right? So that's the first way you could do it. Just go by one by one. Or either go by hordes. There's 5 times hordes or 3 times hordes. The other thing you could do is just go in grass, one at a time. This was a bad example. Wow. Of course, this is going to happen on stream while I'm recording. I should be seeing only 1 Pokemon show up, 1 encounter, but of course, for some reason, I'm seeing 3. So just go back and forth in grass, and yeah, there we go. So just 1 Pokemon at a time. This is useful for, you know, somewhat rare Pokemon out there. So there's definitely Pokemon out there that are like, let's see, I'll give you a good example. Larvitar, if I can spell, excuse me, Larvitar, a rare Pokemon. Yep, see, so rare and lure. So these will happen, like these will show up 1 at a time versus another Pokemon, like for instance, this Roselia that we just saw. I'll just use Roselia because we see it here. Go on wild location, you can see Horde, boom, right? So for Horde Pokemon, it's obviously way easier. You're going to see way more of them. And then for rare and uncommon Pokemon, things like that, you're only going to see 1 at a time. So single encounter Pokemon, definitely much more rare, definitely much more valuable. But yeah, that's the 2 main ways if you're going to go by grass or by Horde. And again, you can do this by water too. So you can go by surfing. You can surf in the water in Sweet Scent. That's actually how I got most of my shinies. Most of my shinies right now in this game are water Pokemon. Just to show you guys as well, just surf into any piece of water and go ahead and start hoarding. Cool, didn't know Lombre was here. Lombre is actually a pretty cool shiny, but that's besides the point. Yeah, that is one of the main things you can do. Another thing you can do, if I can stop running into encounters here, let me just go ahead and get out of this real quick. Another thing that's actually pretty cool is breeding in this game. And again, I don't want to do like a whole breeding video in this guide, but there's multiple breeders out there in, you know, in whatever, in what do you call it? In the world, right? In different Poke worlds. And basically you just need 2 Pokemon. I kind of lucked out that these 2 Pokemon actually fit. I did not plan that at all. Of course, I'm not going to breed this because these Pokemon are worth way too much right now for me. But yeah, basically you just put together a female Pokemon and a male Pokemon. Their IVs will roll pretty randomly. And then you'll see what comes out. You'll see its moves, and then you'll see its nature, which is question mark, and then the OT. So yeah, man, that's breeding. I don't want to get into it right now, and I'm not going to do that breed, but basically what will happen is it'll come out as an egg, and you can go ahead and wait to hatch that egg, kind of like how I was talking about before with that Litwick, and that is how you're going to do it. That is how you're going to breed shiny egg Pokemon. And that's the main way. So it's Horde, single encounter, and egg Pokemon. That's how you're going to hunt. And yeah, that's basically how you're going to hunt in this game. Something else I actually want to quickly cover is what is a secret shiny. Basically, this is a shiny with a rare shiny particle variant. Basically, they appear at the same rate as normal shinies, but I'll have a different particle effect. There's an important note: they cannot be like forced out. They can only appear in single encounters or naturally occurring hordes. So they cannot appear in hordes summoned by Sweet Scent, and they cannot be like they cannot appear by breeding. So basically, when you encounter a shiny Pokemon, there's a 1 in 16th chance that it's a secret shiny instead of a normal shiny. Basically, this means that this is basically the rarest possible shiny you can possibly encounter in this game. Just to add a little more fun fact, just to add a little more grinding, if people wanted to go for like their secret shiny of a specific Pokemon, it's 1/16 harder. It's even harder than getting a regular shiny. Let's put it that way. While I'm kind of wrapping up the end of this video now, I want to give you guys a few expert tips that you'll probably want for your shiny hunting grind as well. So I already talked about leading a Pokemon with Synchronize or Q-Charm. Just keep that in mind. There's going to be another section. This is going to be like the semi-last section, but there's going to be one more section after this where I talk about like basically everything you're going to need to be, like every specific thing you need to be prepared for different shiny Pokemon. But some general tips, right? Bring potions, bring revives, bring Pokeballs, like have a good amount on you. For instance, if I check my bag right here, I've got a lot of Pokeballs. I've got so many Pokeballs for egg breeding. I've got a lot of Ultra Balls just in case. I got repeat balls for like, and timer balls, I think. Yeah, timer balls as well. I've got different types of balls for different situations. Obviously, I want like alpha Pokemon as well. So definitely like keep that in mind. Have Pokeballs, have items on you. Another thing, always check the Pokemon you're hunting's move pool. This is very important. So say I want a shiny Coughing, right? If I go to Coughing, and I check its moveset, it learns Explosion at 44. If I go to wild locations, it doesn't look like any of them know Explosion, but like that would be something to look for, right? That would be something to like understand. Oh, actually, here, rather, Self-Destruct at level 24. I almost missed this. Self-Destruct at level 24. This will kill itself, and as you can tell, aside from Fiery Path, all of these are going to be at least level 24, which means that Coughing, your buddy here, is going to know Self-Destruct. So you're going to need a damp Pokemon. You're going to need something to basically not let it kill itself. So that's why checking the Pokemon's move pool that you're hunting is like very, very important. Otherwise, you could run into something. You could use Takedown, it could use like a recoil move and kill itself, it could use Explosion, Self-Destruct, it could use Roar, it could use Teleport, it could like run away for any reason. Like, you have to be very, very careful when you're hunting shiny Pokemon, guys. And then another big tip, bring at least one catching Pokemon with you wherever you go. I know this sounds weird, maybe this sounds kind of easy, but I always have a Breloom on me. If I'm going to catch a Swarm, if I'm going to catch an Alpha Pokemon, if I'm going to do, you know, like a quick little gym fight and then I run into a piece of grass or something like that, like I'm always packing a Breloom on me, okay? You don't know like how random a shiny Pokemon could appear on you. It's usually, I'm not kidding, it's usually going to appear when you least expect it. Like you could be grinding for like 10 hours one day, just like take a 2-second break, the next day, like hop off, and then play for like 20 minutes and then come back like after lunch or something, play for 5 minutes and run into a shiny. Like it could be like that, you know what I mean? So you always want to be prepared. Those are some of the main things. Again, have an encounter counter up. There's certain mods like shiny tool mods, basically. Like for instance, I get this question a lot actually. How do you make your Pokemon sprite look like this? It's a mod, guys. It's a Gen 5 sprite mod. I hate to say it, but it's not that hard to Google. It's not that hard to like look it up. I don't want to like dumb it down that much for you guys, but like I get this question so much and I don't think it's like worth me making an entire video on it, especially because I already did make videos on this, but that's besides the point. I'm not trying to get triggered here. Yeah, there's certain Gen 5 sprites, there's certain like shiny sprite models that will like appear bigger because they're shinies. And so if you want like get those mods as well, because I know like horde hunting for like days and days, it could be kind of taxing on your eyes. So it's always nice to, you know, make it obvious when you do run into a shiny Pokemon. So those are some of my expert tips, some of my, you know, last minute tips. If you are interested in shiny hunting, I think what's going to happen actually is I'm going to make a separate video on egg breeding specifically, because I don't think I'm going to be running, I think I'm going to be running too much out of time in this specific video. But yeah, like I said, there's going to be one last thing that I want to cover. This is going to be how to stay safe while shiny hunting. And this is basically an article from Sacred Diver that came out about last year, actually, at this time. So this is going to be very important stuff. I'll leave this definitely linked in the description down below, but I just want to talk about a couple of things that you're going to want to know, like that's very specific here. I'm actually going to go ahead and just show you guys. So basically, this is going to be the article that you're going to want to use. This is very useful for a certain Pokemon that you want to hunt. So Intimidate, Forewarn, Illusion, Unnerve, Mold Breaker, stuff like that. The only way to counter these is to use a Coughing or a Wheezing, as you can see here. The ability Reactive Gas is super useful, like specifically for Zorua here, because Zorua is going to be disguised as another Pokemon, and so if you use Reactive Gas, you don't have to worry about it's, you know, what do you call it? If the shiny gets revealed by Reactive Gas, the Pokemon will like basically just show up as whatever it actually is. So the Zorua will not be a Venipede, Petalil, or Cottony. So yeah, you're not going to have the shiny particle sound effect, and it's not going to change the name above the shiny Zorua, but definitely useful to have. Other stuff like Intimidate from different Pokemon like Arbok, Growlithe, Mightyena, stuff like that, it will be basically subdued by Reactive Gas as well. Another scary Pokemon here, I guess, is Clefairy, Hoppip, and Amoonguss. Follow Me and Rage Power. So these have a priority of +2 and make the user the center of attention. Basically, if a shiny Pokemon uses this, you better be careful, because you cannot use, like, for instance, like Strength or Surf, or not Surf, but you can't use any like strong move and then have this Pokemon basically use Follow Me, and then you'll actually end up killing the shiny Pokemon unintentionally. It's actually really scary. I've seen it on video before. So in order to switch this, you're going to need an Arcanine, Dragonite, Zigzagoon, Lucario, Togekiss, blah, blah, blah. Make sure your Pokemon is faster than your target shiny, and then have extreme speed. Basically, Extreme Speed is going to have the same priority as Rage, Powder, and Follow Me, meaning as long as you're faster, you're safe to knock out the non-shinies, because Extreme Speed will kill the non-shiny Pokemon and basically just ignore the +2 priority from Rage, Power, and Follow Me. Honestly, it's very scary. I haven't even tried to hunt for any of these Pokemon yet, but you know, this is definitely good to know if you're trying to. Another big one here is Trick. The Trick user switches held items. So if you have a Toxic Orb, for instance, because Toxic Orb on Breloom is a very common thing. So if you're trying to shunt Kadabra, for instance, it has Switch. So you gotta be careful. So basically just either have leftovers or just don't have a Toxic Orb on you when you're doing it. Basically, simply avoid having your catcher Breloom that has a Toxic Orb. The big one that I was talking about before, Self-Destruct and Reactive Gas Pokemon. Basically, coughing with Self-Destruct, it's gonna be careful. It's gonna be a little scary. So normally you'd use a damp Pokemon, as I mentioned before, but in this case, damp is actually going to get suppressed by reactive gas, which means that shiny coughing is still going to be able to self-destruct, which is very, very scary. How do you counter this? Use any of these Pokemon here: Smeargle, Gengar, Grimer, Muk, Claydol, Baltoy, Drifblim, Vanillish, Vanillux, Golett. So basically, you're going to use Imprison. All right, this is the move set. Any damage dealing move in a horde encounter, a trainer cannot throw a Pokeball unless there's only one wild Pokemon remaining. So you want to false swipe and put it to sleep, obviously. So here's your strategy, right? Lead with an Imprison Pokemon. Do not switch out for no matter what. Use Imprison on the first turn to prevent the shiny Pokemon, the shiny coughing from using Self-Destruct. Keep in mind that your Pokemon has to have Self-Destruct as well. I'm pretty sure that's how Imprison works. You're going to proceed to knock out the rest of the horde with your damage dealing move until only shiny coughing remains, and then you go ahead and catch the shiny coughing. So yeah, if the shiny coughing is level 27, you don't need this because it will not be affected by other coffees use Self-Destruct. And if you're not using a false swipe Smeargle, something you can do is just use Trick and a Focus Sash on your Imprisoned Pokemon. So yeah, very useful. Transform. I actually did catch a shiny Ditto, so I can speak to this. Basically, you just want to have a Breloom with Substitute. That's like the only thing I did. Obviously, you have something else that you don't really want it to transform into. I think it's I forget what the exact Pokemon is, but I guess any like low-level Pokemon would do. I guess that's the kind of thing. Just anything that doesn't really have many moves would be like the best bet. Like anything with like Flash or like Encore, things like that. Like any weak normal types. Rage Powder, Bounce, and Memento. Rage Powder again +2 priority. Hoppip is one of the big ones, and then you're basically going to use Smeargle with Imprison. So yeah, that's the only thing. Your Smeargle has to have these specific moves. Lead with Smeargle, use Imprison to prevent Hoppips from using Rage Power or Memento, and then knock out everything else with, I guess Smackdown, and then proceed to catch the shiny Hoppip. So you need to build a Smeargle with this exact moveset if you want to catch shiny Hoppip, which is a little time consuming, but it is what it is. Sketch for Smeargle. I don't think this is super important, I guess. All you have to do is use a move, and then anything you use, like Sweet Scent or anything like that, and then basically it just won't ever build to kill you. You don't want to make sure that it struggles to death, so you obviously want to keep it pick a move with a high PP, basically, and then don't taunt it either, because then it's going to substitute. So yeah, that's important to know. Teleport is a huge one, because a lot of people will go for shiny Ralts. Basically, teleport from a random Pokemon, it will just run away and you'll never see that shiny again. So it's very scary. You're going to want anything with Arena Trap. Diglett, Dugtrio, and Trapinch are the main Pokemon. And basically a single target damaging move that takes out everything else. Switch in your Arena Trap Pokemon on the first turn no matter what. So if you run into it, bring out the Dugtrio, and then just go ahead and knock out the other 2 shiny Ralts, because Ralts only comes in hordes of 3, and then go ahead and catch the shiny one. Destiny Bond and Self-Destruct, you can read some so on. There's a lot more out here. I'm not going to go through every single one. I guess there's 2 more. But yeah, I'm not going to go through every single one. There's Soak, Takedown, Gambit, all this stuff. A lot of the times you're just going to want a Ghost type Pokemon if you're going to have to deal with like a Takedown or anything that does recoil. And then this one, Destiny Bond, Self-Destruct, you kind of get the idea. Use Damp and then take out everything else, and then basically just stall with like Sweet Scent or Stealth Recover. Yeah, so that's kind of the gist of this article, and I think it's very important. So if you're going to catch like anything specific that I mentioned here, a Drifblim, a Ralt, a Smeargle, a Hoppip, Ditto, coughing, like anything you're looking for in particular, make sure like check again here beforehand, and then yeah, go from there. Axew, Joltik, what's it called, Zorua, like very good shinies, very important shinies. Ralt as well. A lot of these are very fan favorite shinies, so just want to make sure you guys are out there doing your best. But yeah, guys, that is actually going to do it for the video. I know it's a little bit of a longer video for sure. Actually, it's very longer video for sure, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and let me know what kind of guide you'd like to see in the upcoming future for this channel. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. I'll see you later. Peace.